Best Bet package with the promo code ACTION75. That's ACTION75 at experts.winnersandwhiners.com.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And just like that, we're off. We're running another brand new live edition of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond with you, hanging out until 9 a.m. on it's going to be a cold start to your day, but it's supposed to warm up today. So should be another fantastic evening for high school football. But in between, if you want to make that drive, you can head down to the Birmingham Crossplex and take in the 52nd edition of the state volleyball tournament. And again, congratulations goes out to the Westminster Christian Academy Wildcats. Last year, they captured the 4A state volleyball championship. This year, they moved up to Class 5A, and all they did was go on and win their second straight volleyball championship. Yesterday, a straight set win over Westminster Christian, or over Arab, I should say. Can't play yourself in the state title, but they get a 3-0 win over Arab. Meg Paparella, 6 of her match high, 19 kills in the first set. Westminster Christian 3-0 winners over Arab. And Bob Jones, the Lady Patriots, they are in the 7A state championship. They got through yesterday's semifinals. They will play for a state championship today. Addison got a win in the 1A state championship with a 3-0 win over Covenant Christian. So plenty of volleyball going on down there at the Crossplex. Good to see North Alabama coming up, bringing some blue back to our area. Good to see that.
Yeah, good to see Holly Richards and those young ladies win yet again for the second straight year, moving up to 5A after winning in 4A last year. And all North Alabama final as they beat Arab. I think it was Arab's first ever trip to the finals in 5A. So congratulations to those young ladies, both teams, especially Westminster. It's very hard to repeat. So kudos to them, and good luck to Bob Jones later today. They're taking on the Dirty Dozen from McGill-Tulane. McGill-Tulane has a lot of tradition, and McGill-Tulane eliminated the Huntsville Lady Crimson Panthers and Melanie Donahue in the quarterfinals. Yeah,
they do. McGill-Tulane is rather impressive. They really are probably only a 3A school, 4A school at best, I think. But because of everything that goes in, they are 7A, I believe, because of the, what do they call that, the competitive balance stuff and everything.
Yeah,
Bayside Christian Academy in there as well. Don't forget, they are in the 6A state championship, and I think Bayside has the longest
21 in a row,
yeah.
21 state titles in a row from 2A all the way through. I think they've even won the 7A before. But they are in 6A this year, and they're playing against Spanish Fort, so that's going to be an all-Mobile final in the 6A, and then the volleyball over in Birmingham. So, yeah, Bayside Academy, no matter what classification they're in, they're a machine, and they're amazing, and 21 straight. Yeah. I mean, that's an amazing accomplishment.
All right, we do have a little bit of high school football coming your way tonight, just a little bit. Muscle Shoals is going to welcome Sparkman. May Jemison is going to welcome East Limestone this evening. Central Florence will welcome Ardmore tonight. And Lauderdale County will take on Brooks. Colbert Heights will take on Decatur Heritage. Collinsville will take on Valley Head. So just a little bit of high school football coming your way. Don't forget, this week is the last week of the regular season. So after tonight, we will have playoffs the rest of the way. So hard to believe we've played 10 weeks of the high school football season, but that is where we are at. And that is how we get you started on this Thursday. All right. I was just laughing because your Lakers are still winless, by the way.
Yeah, they stink. LeBron should retire.
I just thought I'd throw that out there. It came up there on Sports Center.
But I'm sure he'll demand a trade to the Nets or somebody else so he can contend for a championship and prop himself up as the greatest player of all time, which is a joke.
All right, 256-576-4977. That's the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. You want to join the program, you want to join the show this morning, feel free to reach out and do so. So we talked a lot about the by the way, just so you know, the Alabama-Gonzaga game that is going to be played December 17th in Birmingham is sold out.
Yep, 17,000 seats, man.
It is officially a sellout. So if you were wanting to go to that game, you're going to have to buy some tickets off a third-party site. But it is all sold out if that's where you intended to be on December 17th. Again, 256-576-4977. That's the number to the phone lines. You want to join the program. Anything that's weighing on your mind, feel free to do so. We talked a lot about the Georgia-Florida game from the Florida perspective. But if this is the Georgia perspective, their schedule up to this point has not been challenging. We laugh at Ohio State for not playing a tough schedule, but Georgia, outside of that Oregon game, has faced Samford, South Carolina, Kent State, Missouri, Auburn, and Vanderbilt. Going forward, they have Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Georgia Tech. Definitely not Murderer's Row if you are looking at that schedule. But is this the time now? And Matt Hayes asked the question and says for Georgia, the vacation is over. It's time to hunt. Is the vacation over for Georgia? Does it get rockier from here on out for them? A little more challenging, at least, for the Bulldogs?
It will be in 2 weeks. I don't think Florida will be a big challenge. It might be a game for a half, but certainly taking on Tennessee and as hot as they are, yeah, I mean it's gonna definitely be much tougher. I mean, but we all talked about this in Atlanta, that Georgia's schedule set up well for them to be undefeated headed into the SEC championship game and have a chance to get back to the playoff, probably regardless of the results in the SEC championship game, depending on who said opponent is, if said opponent is Alabama. Now, if it ended up being a 2-loss LSU team, I don't think so. And I know the Czars made these points that LSU could be a 2-loss team in the playoff. I don't see it. Well, first of all, I think Alabama's going to drop an anvil on their head and end all this bull crap. I think that'll be over with next week, and I think Alabama will win in Red Stick. But, again, I just think overall it wouldn't help Georgia's case if they lost to a 2-loss LSU team in the SEC championship game. I think there would be a lot of outcry, especially if Ohio State and Michigan are both undefeated. Right. And it's a great game. And Ohio State or Michigan goes on and wins the Big Ten championship, and then you've got a 1-loss out of that group, either Ohio State or Michigan sitting there. So if I were Georgia, I would want Alabama to be there with 1 loss, and then if that's the case, even if you lost to Alabama, I think you'd have a strong case to get in. And if you're Georgia, you want Oregon to continue to win. Same way in the Oregon's case, want Georgia to continue to win because it enhances both of your resumes. Because Oregon right now is not near the top 5, but they can continue to rise. And if they were able to, win out and beat somebody like USC in the Pac-12 championship game, then I think they could have a strong case, especially if Georgia's undefeated, because your only loss, even if it's 49-3, is to the number 1 team in America. Right. So that would help both those teams, and then it would help Georgia because they would have a 49-3 win in Atlanta over a school like Oregon, and Oregon would, by that time, if they won the Pac-12, would very likely be in the top 4 or 5. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I do think it's going to get a little tougher for Georgia, but I still think when you look at their roster, when you look at their coaching stability, I do like them in a close game over Tennessee, and if they can continue to win and get to the SEC championship game undefeated, they've got a really, really strong case to be in the playoff regardless of outcome. So we'll see what happens.
All right, something numbers-wise to keep in mind for Georgia, because last year during that title run, the defense carried that team to the national championship. As good a story as Stetson Bennett was, the offense came through timely, but the defense really was the anchor of that team. going into the 8th game, through 7 games right now, can you believe that Georgia is dead last in the SEC when it comes to sacks? They are 42 sacks off their pace from last year. They have 7 sacks this season so far. And other numbers defensively that kind of makes you think of it. Last year, Georgia had 101 tackles for loss last season. This year, going into the 8th game, they have just 31 tackles for loss.
Well, I don't think it's as good a defensive football team, but I do think their offense is a little bit better. They are better at throwing the football. They've got a second year under their belt with Brock Bowers. They've added to the tight end room because Darnell Washington has played a bigger role. I think now they're even starting to get Arik Gilbert involved. And then you got Ladd McConkey, who's had a solid year. I think overall, I think it's just a better offensive team. I think Stetson Bennett's more confident. They certainly are more apt to allow him to throw the ball 40 times and not flinch. I don't think they're quite as good a running team without Zeus White and James Cook, but we'll see. But again, they've really only had, to me, one subpar performance, and that was against Missouri, which they had to survive on the road. And the one thing about Georgia's schedule that's been to their advantage, if you look at all the big games, pretty much all the big games have been in Athens. And of course, the neutral side against Oregon was in Atlanta. So they've had the schedule has set up very nicely for them. I do think they'll handle Kentucky. No doubt about that. Kentucky's played them tough. They played them tough last year, but I don't see Kentucky having enough firepower to beat them. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. But right. Over the second half of the schedule, certainly Georgia's going to have to play, those teams. Now, I will say this, because, again, you have to go by how they're playing now, but you got to give Georgia a lot of credit because this was a road game earlier in the season. That South Carolina team is going to be arguably 7-2 if they can beat Missouri and Vanderbilt. They went on the road to Athens and lost 48-7. And I'm just talking about, I kind of thought Georgia took their foot off the gas. That game was over in the middle of the second quarter, man. It was just a beatdown. And that stadium emptied out. By halftime, most of the South Carolina fans, who were great fans, they were gone. And so Georgia really eviscerated them, and so they haven't really been tested except for at Mizzou. They were able to gut check that game out. They played poorly, and Stetson was a little off. But Georgia's played at a high level, and so we'll see really how good they are and how dominant, to see if they can dominate Kentucky and see if they can beat Tennessee. I don't think they'll dominate Tennessee. I think Tennessee's got too good an offense for that to happen. But being in Athens, Georgia being as experienced as they are, and since 2017, pretty much Kirby's had them in the mix to be in the championship conversation every year. I think they're used to it, and we'll see if Tennessee can navigate it and handle it.
All right, 256-576-4977. In case you are wondering, Brock Bowers is the leading receiver right now for the Georgia Bulldogs. 26 receptions, 393 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the super tight end. Ladd McConkey is second, 26 receptions, 362 yards. Stetson Bennett, going into the outdoor cocktail party this season, has thrown for 2,033 yards, 7 touchdowns, and just 1 interception. Yardage-wise, Stetson Bennett is right up there with the big two that we've talked about all season, and that is our guy from Ohio State and Hendon Hooker from Tennessee.
Well,
yardage-wise, Stetson Bennett is right up there.
But you've got to also put Bryce Young up there too, and he's right up there. Bryce has got over 2,000 yards. Now, it is kind of surprising that as much as he's thrown, that they only have 7 touchdown passes when you think about it.
Carson Beck has 4. The backup quarterback has 4.
And see, that's why I made a point yesterday of if Stetson got banged up in a game. Now, ideally it wouldn't be Tennessee because Tennessee's a great football team, even Kentucky. But in some of these games, if Stetson got banged up, I think they could put Carson Beck in the game, and I think they could still win. I think Georgia and Alabama are probably the only two teams in college football that could do that. I mean, and it wasn't ideal for Alabama because Milroe was responsible for 3 of the turnovers. But again, they were still able to survive, so you have to say that. And Milroe played pretty well against Arkansas and kept for 2.5 quarters and kept things stabilized so Alabama could win. So Alabama has had to use their backup to try to win a couple of ball games. Certainly Georgia hasn't had to do that, but I think with the talent around the quarterback and the way they're built, I think they could do it. And again, not quite as dynamic offensively from a pass rush standpoint, but the other numbers are really good. And I think Georgia's solid defensively. And I'll be honest with you, I still say, and I'm anxious to see how it plays out, but that they're going to be able to get some pressure. And they're certainly not going to sit back and allow Hendon Hooker to do what Alabama did, in my opinion.
So rushing-wise, going into the cocktail party, Georgia, by the way, their leading rusher for touchdowns on the ground is our quarterback, Stetson Bennett.
Yeah,
Dejon Edwards has 5 touchdowns on the ground. Stetson Bennett has 5 touchdowns on the ground as well.
Yeah, Stetson's mobility is a part of his game that he doesn't get enough credit for.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good athlete, and as everybody saw, I mean, he had an explosive run against Auburn to put that game away. I mean, I believe it was 70-plus yards. So he is capable of making plays with his feet, and he's been very efficient. And you already talked about only 1 interception all year. So I think he's in complete control of that offense. And, again, I think it could be a game for a half and potentially into the fourth quarter if Anthony Richardson plays really well. But last year he did not play well against this Georgia team. So I'm anxious to see the kind of growth under this coaching staff of Billy Napier's that he has. And then, but speaking of Billy Napier, they're probably going to get some really good news later today. The top corner in America, Cormani McClain, he's, of course, from Lakeland, Florida. He is going to commit today, and I strongly believe that the Gators are going to get his verbal commitment. So that will be another big pledge for Billy, and they're putting together a top 10 recruiting class. I think he's doing a really solid job, and really that's the most important thing. This Florida team is, we talked to Mark McLeod earlier this week, is not the most talented, especially defensively, and that's where I think the rubber's going to meet the road. They have potential with the way they run the football at times, and even the way, depending on which Richardson you get has thrown it, he's thrown the ball pretty well at times. But
if it's the Utah Anthony Richardson where he looked spectacular, then
they couldn't stop LSU. I mean, they gave up 45 in the swamp, and so I just don't see how they're going to be able to long-term contain Georgia. And so that's why I like Georgia. I don't know if I would take them to cover. I think the last I saw it was a 22-point spread. I don't know if they did crush them like that last year. I don't know if I would take it as far as like that. I might go just
22.5 right
I might
now.
go just under the number. I might go like a 38-17 or
56.5
37-17, something like that kind of game. But I still like Georgia to win it comfortably.
256-576-4977. A little bit there on the Georgia-Florida game. You'll be able to hear that game right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone on Saturday, as we'll have that for you. Of course, before that, from 12 to 2, we will be at University Kia. It's on a special Saturday show. So you got Talking Ball in the afternoon, and then that'll lead into Georgia-Florida coming over our airwaves on Saturday. Let's get that first break in. When we come back, Tennessee and Kentucky play, and why is 24 the magic number in that one?
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
We are dealing with a heavy traffic load, but we don't have anything on the board accident-wise. Still got some cleanup activity on Baltimore Hill. Had a large structure fire. Still working with that one. Someone dies from heart disease every 36 seconds. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue can help you keep your heart healthy. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Football season is here, and as always, the best place to catch every game is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill. Humphreys is celebrating by bringing back their game day football specials. $2.75 Miller Lite, Coors Light, Yingling, and $3.50 Yellowhammer Gold Pints. $4 Fireball shots. Anytime football is on. And don't forget football trivia every Sunday night at 6. The best place to catch all the games all season long is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill.
Tom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4-RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Hi everybody, Eli Gold here. Right now, indoor air quality occupies top-of-mind awareness for families and business owners. Rick Smith and the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems can take care of your indoor air quality concerns with their state-of-the-art indoor air quality solutions. Environmental Comfort's indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of airborne contaminants so you and your family can breathe clean, fresh air. If anyone in your family suffers from allergies, or if you just want the security of knowing the air you breathe inside your home is free from viruses, bacteria, pet dander, dust, and odors, Environmental Comfort Systems are the professionals to call. Environmental Comfort also carries state-of-the-art, high-efficiency comfort systems that increase home comfort, keep humidity in check, and help you save money on your energy bills. Give my friend Rick a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
This is Steve Moulton from The Drive. Join us this afternoon from 5 to 7 with Wes Neighbors and me. Now back to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Indeed, welcome back. 256-576-4977. That's the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. You can get in on the show or on the program this morning if you would like. And another game coming up on Saturday is, how about this one? Third-ranked Tennessee hosting 19th-ranked Kentucky. Tennessee a 12.5-point favorite in this ball game. And I said before the break, why is 24 the magic number? Because Tennessee has scored 30 or more in 10 straight games. So the Vols offense is lighting up the scoreboard like Josh Heupel likes them to do. The Kentucky defense, by the way, has not allowed more than 24 points in the 11 straight games. South Carolina scored 24 on them this year, but have not given up more than 24 points since last season, when Tennessee scored 40 on them. So which is likely more to happen? Tennessee scoring more than 24 on Kentucky, or Kentucky's defense limiting the Vols to 24 or less points on Saturday?
It's Tennessee's going 24 or more easily. I mean, I've watched Kentucky, and they've got a good football team, but this is an elite offense Tennessee's got. They run the ball better than they did a year ago. Offensive line's better, great quarterback, really good receivers. I'm sure Tillman's about to be back in the lineup, so I got to take Tennessee, and so that's why I'm not picking Kentucky to upset them.
The question is, how many plays does Tennessee run in their game against Kentucky? In the Alabama game, believe it or not, Tennessee ran 13 less plays than Alabama. Alabama got off 83 plays in that game against Tennessee. Tennessee got off only 70 plays in that game against Alabama. Does Tennessee, I mean, is it one of those games where Tennessee is going to have to, they're going to have long drives, or are they going to have these explosive plays?
They're going to be explosive. That's what it was last year. And so, I mean, heck, man, I mean, and you know, when plays are called back via penalty, they don't count. So there's no telling how many plays Alabama actually ran since Mo, Larry, Curley, and Shemp were officiating.
We're still
I mean,
there.
man, it's probably at least 90. You know what I'm saying?
Brandon's with us this morning. Good morning, Brandon.
What's up, Brandon?
Oh, okay.
Oh.
All right.
Gotcha.
Well, we're going to get him back here.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah. So that's just interesting. I was looking at that thinking, my goodness, something's got to give in that Tennessee game. Last year, Tennessee obviously beat Kentucky 45-42.
Yep.
That is the last time that someone has scored more than 24 points. Now, before that, it happened in back-to-back games, because Mississippi State last year scored 31 on Kentucky. Georgia scored 30 on Kentucky. So that's kind of deceiving a little bit when I say 24, because, I mean, early on last year, 3 teams scored 24 or more on Kentucky. All right, Brandon's back with us. Good morning, Brandon.
What's up?
Good morning.
Morning. Having a Christmas tree cake this morning?
Well, I was actually no, I had some Oreos. I had to switch it up a little bit.
There you go.
Did y'all see where Shaq has challenged Charles Barkley to a spelling bee?
Yes.
I saw a little bit of that. I mean, you know, maybe LeBron will finally win a game, and then he can join.
Well, I was talking about it with my son, and he looks at me and he says, "How great would it be if every time you misspelled a word, you had to eat a Christmas tree cake?"
Oh, look out. You'd have diabetes.
But I think that's funny that those two idiots, there's more coverage of that than there is LeBron.
Well, of course there is. People want to see winners. Shaq and Charles were winners.
And it just goes to show, if you can entertain,
Yeah.
people will watch.
Well, that's why TNT offered Shaq, what was it, 10 years, $100 million or something like that for that contract there to re-up or whatever. It's a new 10-year deal.
Well, Shaq's always been...
Shaq to, or no, my bad, for Charles to be on TNT.
Well, yeah, because the Live Tour tried to get him too. But I was just going to say, for both Shaq and Charles, they both speak very well. They're both very articulate. They both are very opinionated. They both have great personalities. I mean, they're both kind of made for television, to be honest with you. So.
Well, I watch that show sometimes.
Yeah.
Even though
and Ernie's great, Kenny.
Yeah, they're the medium moderators of the show. When it gets a little too far out there, they kind of steer it back.
Yeah.
But they're getting body slammed through the Christmas tree. Might be one of the top 10 moments of anything I've ever seen on TV. I don't know if they can ever top that.
Yeah.
But if they had like a Christmas cake tree eating contest or white fudge Oreo eating contest, I would be down.
I need to try these white fudge Oreos. I can only have one, but I need to try.
White fudge Oreos?
Yeah, they're pretty good. I don't know
about that.
Yeah,
they are fire.
Yeah. Brandon's picked some up lately, and of course, everybody knows about the Christmas tree cakes. Everybody's had a Christmas tree cake, but
they're hard to get. Believe it or not,
well,
they
Brandon
are hard
found
to
them though.
Find.
You know?
Why
found
are
them,
they
you know?
hard to find? What makes them so?
He already found
spectacular,
some.
though? I know, but what makes them so? What makes them so irresistible that you can't go into the store and buy them?
It's crazy.
I think it's a childhood thing.
Yeah.
And they put them out too early.
Yeah.
They put them out before Halloween.
Yes. Why are we putting out Why are we putting out Christmas tree things before Halloween?
My wife looks at me and says, "Why do we talk about college football in March?" That was the comeback she gave me when I said that. She said people want to enjoy Christmas. So I took a look at that and was like, wow. I was like, that's about as bad as Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis were supposed to have a fight in 4 months when they planned that 6 months ago, and then the other day they act like Tyson's in a wheelchair.
Just tell your wife that's what winners do. Winners talk college football in March. That's why the Pac-12 hasn't won one.
Yeah.
Baghdad Bob.
I did laugh at Josh Pate yesterday. The reason why I laughed at Josh Pate was because Oregon had everybody at their game. Did you see the pictures of the Stanford attendance on Saturday?
I heard about it. I heard it was worse than UCLA.
It was awful.
Oh.
I sent it to Drew, and Alabama makes more money off of parking within a quarter mile of the stadium than they made on ticket sales.
I mean,
it was bad,
and they're paying David Shaw like $8.5 million a year, man. Awful.
Yes, you're paying $8.5 million a year to have what? Was there 10,000 people there?
Probably not. I mean, Stanford stinks now. I mean, ugh.
But well, they're going to be the class of that conference when USC and UCLA are gone. It's going to be them and Oregon.
Yeah.
I guess it's a good thing their games come on at 10 o'clock at night Eastern time, so nobody can see it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, their games start so late. I mean, nobody's watching them, and it's probably why Bo Nix hadn't got more buzz for the numbers he's putting up. Because again, you're kind of forgotten over there on the West Coast. But it was probably good for Josh Pate to go over there and talk to Dan Lanning and see them play. And again, he's starting to get some pub. He's got nearly 2,000 passing yards, and he's putting up much better stats than he did in the SEC. Though, I mean, part of it is the league you're playing in, but I do think he's been put in a more stabilized situation with a better roster. Though, I mean, you can argue. Scott was just arguing about Georgia's schedule. You could argue with Oregon's too, because again, they beat UCLA. Congratulations, but UCLA should have lost to South Alabama. I mean, they're not very good.
What happens to their TV deal, the amount of money the Pac-12 gets once USC and UCLA are gone?
Well, that's the thing. Now, here's the thing with their television rights deal. They started negotiating with the big carriers well before the Big 12. The Big 12 is really close. I mean, we're talking probably within the next week of announcing their television rights deal. The Pac-12 is not even close. Not even close to coming up with their deal. So right now, the Pac-12 is so far behind that the Big 12, which started almost 2 months later negotiating their television rights, will have their deal almost well before the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is struggling right now.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering. Once you take those two schools out, what is your real value for TV money? I know there's a lot of people in California, but in those other states, it's not as popular. So you're taking most of those viewers, other than the Stanford viewers who were, doing yoga in the woods the other day. So what do you get for money? I'm interested to see what their TV deal is and how far down it goes and just how much money they lose because of this. Yeah. And I think maybe these TV and this deal is not going to go through.
Maybe not, and who knows? And to be honest with you, there's so much fighting right now between the State Board of Regents in California and UCLA on whether or not UCLA should actually be allowed to go to the Big Ten. Who knows if UCLA even ultimately ends up in the Big Ten. I know they say they're going, but I have a feeling that fight is far from over. And we were bringing up that Oregon schedule. Oregon faced number 3 Georgia beginning of the year. They faced a 12th-ranked BYU squad, who BYU is no longer ranked. They faced Eastern Washington, Washington State, Stanford, Arizona. They have Cal, Colorado, Washington, Utah, and Oregon State left on the horizon. That is Oregon's remaining schedule.
All right, yeah.
All winnable ball games there. I mean, that Utah game will be a challenge, but everything is in front of them is at home. Washington's at home. Utah's at home. Cal and Colorado and Oregon State are on the road. So we'll have to wait and see. So, all right, Brandon, thanks for the phone call, bud. All right, Brandon with us this morning. 256-576-4977. And we laughed at Kansas letting people into their football games a couple years ago. You want to know what Stanford is doing? The same school that is paying their coach $9.5 million to coach a year for the remaining 2 home games. You can come for free. You can test drive any seat in the stadium for free if you want to buy season tickets for next year. You can come to those games for free at Stanford. Just show up and go.
They're where Kansas was a couple years ago.
They're paying their coach now over $9 million a year. All right, Jeff in the Borough with us this morning. Good morning, Jeff.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
First of all, Drew, you saw they won 32-31.
Yeah, they did.
They're 6-1. So, but that's
they stink.
They might, but I'm just saying, whatever. As far as Tennessee Kentucky goes, if Kentucky can keep Levis upright, I don't know if he's fully healthy or not, but he's probably the best he'll be right now. If they can keep him upright and control the ball and run the football with Rodriguez, and they got a shot. If not, they won't. Nobody thought we'd beat Florida either, and nobody thought we'd beat them last year either.
Everybody
thinks Florida. Everybody thinks Florida has got so much better talent than we got. Just way up here, way up yonder. And we beat them 2 years in a row. We owned the swamp. We won 3 out of the last 5. Okay, so we won twice in there. So this is stuff. Florida, I don't care what recruits they get. I don't care if they're 50 stars. Okay.
That's all right, but can you own Neyland Stadium? Can Tennessee,
no.
Can Kentucky keep the ball? Can Kentucky keep the ball out of Tennessee's hands and win the possession battle? They got to win the time of possession battle, keep the ball out of Tennessee's hand to win.
They got a shot with Chris Rodriguez running back. We can get him a ball and let him run a little bit, and we get that offensive line, that big blue wall works a little bit, and we got a shot, yeah. When they're not going to get blown, they'll get blown out, no. I think they got a shot. They can beat 12.5 points, whatever it is, but nobody, like I said, nobody thought we'd beat Florida either. They thought we'd go out there and get it, but
yeah, the spread's 12.5.
I don't care if it's 55,000.5. I don't care about no point spread. You think I'm worried about it?
Well, you just said they're not going to get blown out. I just let you know. I'm letting you know the spread's 12.5.
I don't care what the spread is. I mean, the New York Jets were a 25-point underdog Super Bowl III. Don Shula couldn't get up. It was Jets 16, Joel 7. Matt Snell scored the touchdown. His nephew's Benny Snell. What's the difference? Snell you later.
All right, so the question that we asked this morning is, does Kentucky do enough to not let Tennessee score more than 24 points?
I think they can if they control the clock. If they can keep the ball away from Tennessee, yes. If they can run the football and they can get some first downs and play the clock a little bit, if they can keep Levis upright, they've got to keep him upright. He can't get sacked 5 or 6 times. No, they can't turn the ball over. I mean, to be honest with you guys, here it is. If they could have stood still against Ole Miss, they'd have beat them. If they would have been moving around motion, they had scored about a minute 10 to go and beat them. South Carolina, they stunk the second half, and they lost going to join the NFL now? The NFL? So they beat Alabama? Is that what it is? I mean, they've already tore down the goalpost once. You want us to tear them down next? We beat them? I guess they'll tear them down. They've already played Martin Middle School, and they done play the Ohio Prison Reform System. Who else they going to play? Ball State, David Letterman University. But they might play somebody good. They're playing a real team this weekend. They ain't playing David Letterman University. So I know y'all don't think we can beat them. I understand that problem. God, we understand you. Let's see if y'all can beat Tennessee next year. The losing streak's won now, man. Y'all hang in and have a good day.
Well, the only problem is, and Jeff made a point, but about Rodriguez and not controlling the clock and stuff, but they did last year at Kroger Field, and they held the ball for over 40 minutes and still lost 45-42.
Right.
You know, so they actually did half of it really well. They possessed it. Rodriguez was good. They ran the ball. They did what they were supposed to do. They scored points. They scored 42.
That should be enough to win a ball
But they
game.
couldn't stop Tennessee ultimately.
Right.
Okay? So that's where it's going to be tough. Now, they did win in Neyland Stadium in 2020, but the problem is that was Jeremy Pruitt coaching. Okay? It wasn't Josh Heupel. Do they have a shot? Yeah, but I think it's like 20% or less. I mean, and the reason I say that is they've got to force Hooker into multiple turnovers, maybe even knock him out the game, and then his other points are valid. They have to keep certainly Will Levis upright, and Rodriguez has to have a great game because Tennessee's defense is weak. Okay, so that's what's going to give them a shot. But I just don't give them much of one because I just think Tennessee's got too many weapons. And this Tennessee team is better than the one a year ago. Even with their defense still being weak, they run the ball well, and they can throw it. And, again, it's at Neyland Stadium too. And I just don't but, again, remember, the chance that they have is that Florida in Neyland Stadium played them to the last play. Okay, so Kentucky is a better football team than Florida. I agree with Jeff on that point too. So they do have a chance, but sometimes it's when you play somebody, and Tennessee's gotten a lot better, I think, since they played Florida.
Right.
But here's the other shot for Kentucky: is Tennessee too busy worried about going to Athens and trying to make reservations potentially to get to the SEC championship game and overlooking Kentucky?
Right.
Because
Well,
if
that
you
could
do
be,
that,
yeah.
you could be in trouble.
Now, Tennessee's pass defense is not the greatest in the country. I mean, it's okay.
Their rush defense is pretty good considering who they've played.
But eighth
yeah.
in the country, giving up only 90.9 yards.
Some of that is who
game.
they've played, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, but they did do a good job against Alabama in the fourth quarter. The first three quarters it was okay, but the fourth quarter they did, and so that's another thing in Tennessee's favor. Is because if they can slow Rodriguez down, I don't know that they won't stop him, but if they can slow him down, it's going to make it really tough because Will Levis is not the guy. I don't care what the NFL scouts say about how far he can throw it and how pretty he looks in his pads and all that mess. Will Levis, to me, is not good enough to carry the team to win it. He needs help. He's going to have a big game running the football, and then if you can complement that, Levis is capable. But if Rodriguez is slowed down, say Kentucky's running the ball like they were before Rodriguez was eligible, before he was off suspension, against this Tennessee team, I don't like Kentucky's chances.
Well, Tennessee, by the way, while they may be in the top 10 in rushing defense, they've given up 9 rushing touchdowns this season.
Mm-hmm.
So they, close to that goal line and everything. Tennessee does give up the rushing touchdown. By the way, Texas State leads the nation in giving up rushing touchdowns at 15.
Yeah.
So just kind of slot Tennessee in there between 9 and 15. There's not too many teams ahead of them giving up the rushing touchdowns. All right, let's get that break in. Somebody on Twitter did not like us talking about LeBron James not winning anything, by the way. He said, did you guys just call Charles Barkley a winner and imply that LeBron hasn't won anything?
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Look, Looks like we've got a wreck eastbound on 72 right at the 565 overpass in Athens. Right lane's blocked up there. Traffic's majorly backed up. Looks like maybe some left lane traffic may be getting by there. We'll keep an eye on it. Keep you updated. Still got some fire equipment on the scene. 700 block of Baltimore had a large structure fire there earlier. No hose, no mask. You could ask Dr. Sandman, that's Dr. Sandlin, for the medically proven benefits of the Somnodent for sleep apnea and for snoring. Dr. Sandlin, 350-CARE. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane, Popeye, Skywatch Traffic Center.
Chapman Commercial Realty, your source for Alabama commercial real estate. Chapman Commercial Realty has the experience and expertise you're looking for when making commercial real estate decisions. If it's office space, retail space, investment property, or project development, Chapman Commercial Realty is your answer. Call Bill Chapman today at 256-656-8413. That's 256-656-8413. Or find them online at chapmancommercialrealty.com.
Southeastern Conference Commissioner Greg Sankey is coming to the Huntsville Museum of Art on Thursday, November 10th. He will sit with Abraham Madcore, the executive editor of Sports Business Journal, for an interview about issues in college football, such as conference realignment, playoff expansion, and name, image, and likeness. This event is part of the museum's Voices of Our Times series, dedicated to bringing in experts in the arts, entertainment, politics, and sports. For more information, visit hsvmuseum.org.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner at University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Alabama A&M University football. Stop into University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including the all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com and view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see ya in the Kia. Go Bulldogs!
Are you in the market for a recreational vehicle? Do you want to get out and see more of this beautiful country? Well, imagine hearing the laughter of your little ones enjoying gooey s'mores by a cozy campfire and making lasting memories with your friends and family from the comfort of a new camper. We can make your dreams come true at Hall's RV. With over 15 years in the camping business, we know how to get our customers into the perfect camper. We have several models and floor plans here for you to choose from, both new and used. We're family owned and operated with fantastic deals and great service. Everyone wants to work with people they can trust, so come on down to Hall's RV and get the deal of a lifetime. We'll treat you right and get you on the road in the camper of your dreams. Visit us on Highway 431 in Albertville. Hall's RVs, where we sell fun. Or see us on the web at www.hallsrvsales.com.
Organizations using Salesforce know how powerful the platform is and how much time, money, and headaches it saves if it's set up right and you know how to use it. Let's face it, Salesforce is complicated and time-consuming to figure out, and a lot can go wrong now and down the road without expert help. That's why most Salesforce users work with an implementation partner like Higher Echelon, so they get the absolute most out of their Salesforce investment. Higher Echelon is a 5-star Salesforce consulting partner who won Salesforce Military Hiring Partner of the Year. President Dr. Joe Ross is retired Army who played and later coached for the cadets. He puts that experience to good use at Higher Echelon, where they pride themselves on hiring veterans. Look, not all Salesforce partners are the same. Don't put your company at risk by going with an inferior partner. Higher Echelon is the trusted partner you can count on to get you up and running and seeing returns on your Salesforce investment in a fraction of the time it would take if you go it alone. Go to higherechelon.com. That's HIGHERECHELON.com to learn more. Go higher and go Army.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Attorney Tommy Sinyard on behalf of Sinyard Law, and again proud to be a sponsor of All Things Football here on ESPN Radio. My son Bart and I started our own law firm July 1 and are very proud and excited to be bringing you our 50 years of collective national award-winning injury trial law experience. Check us out on the web, sinyardlaw.com.
Sinyard Law, nationally recognized, locally respected.
What can you expect when you shop for a firearm at Bullet & Barrel? Expect great prices. We specialize in quality over quantity. Expect great service. Our professional sales staff is never pushy. We won't talk you into something that doesn't fit your needs. You have the right to make a smart, informed decision. Expect Bullet & Barrel, Alabama's only 5-star indoor shooting range, to support you after the sale. Bullet & Barrel, 3252 Lehman Ferry Road. Like or follow us on Facebook. Come see us soon.
Welcome back, Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. And yesterday we spent a little bit of time right off the top of the show kind of letting you know the temperature down on the plains. Brian Harsin basically saying, hey, look, if you want a red shirt, that's not going to happen this year. You know, it's either move on or red shirt. And yesterday, the Auburn Tigers losing Tavares Dawson. He is no longer a part of the program, Drew, and we were talking about these numbers. Obviously, you know, this attrition that we're seeing now from the Auburn roster, obviously it's going to leave them shorthanded on Saturday because these guys are not there anymore. They're not like they're going to be able to play Saturday, and Auburn was already thin at certain positions, but is this the kind of attrition you thought we would see last year with a new coach? Are you surprised to see it this late in year two? And is all of this just a nail in the coffin for Brian Harsin not to be back next year?
It's probably all the above, man. I mean, when a program's not doing well, when not living up to expectations, and guys aren't playing, because Tavares Dawson, known as a guy with speed, but his role has never expanded. You haven't seen him become a bigger part of the offense. I mean, these guys are going to bail out, man. The days of guys staying for a long time in a program, especially with NIL, are really are numbered, because dudes, if they're not, especially if they don't think they're playing enough, they're going to put themselves out there and see if they can get a better deal. That's just the bottom line. It's it's more about me than about the team, and guys are wanting to get their piece of the pie, and they don't want to wait. The development aspect is really going to go by the wayside, because dudes want instant gratification instead of grinding and working and earning your opportunity, and so to speak. Because that's why they got to change NIL, because to me it would stop the free agency aspect, and that's why they've started to tweak the transfer portal windows, which is good, because again, you're just going to have guys bailing out in the middle of a season. It's almost like quitting on your team. Well, okay, I want a red shirt, I'm not playing much, instead of continuing to work. So I understand kind of where Harsin's coming from. Well, if you want a red shirt, I don't even know if I'm going to be here, so you either quit the team or get in the portal. And so
if you don't want to be a part of this team,
if you don't want to be a part of the team, then leave. And that's what some of these guys are doing, and that's why whoever takes over the Auburn program, and I'm going to go ahead and assume it's not going to be Brian Harsin, it's going to be a big-time rebuild, because, as Nathan King tweeted out, Auburn signed, I guess you're talking about 4 or 5-star players in the last two classes in 2020 and 2021. They signed 23 of them, and 8 are left. So that shows you how many guys have already bailed out. Many of them have gone to UCF.
And keep in mind, a lot of those guys
that's probably going to continue.
A lot of those guys that were signed were not offensive linemen either.
Oh, no, they weren't.
And so that just tells you where as far as the offensive line numbers goes. Auburn struggles on the line.
Yeah.
That just amplifies how bad, and that's not Brian Harsin.
It's
that
not
was
all
Gus
Harsin.
Malzahn that did not recruit along that offensive line, tried to fill it with portal guys or tried to fill it with transfers, and it didn't work. That just tells you how far back this Auburn program is right now. Whoever comes in, if Brian Harsin ultimately stays, which I think you're probably at a 0.2% chance of him staying, because there's always a chance that whoever comes in, they're going to hit that transfer portal bigger than what we saw Lane Kiffin hit it in the offseason, bigger than what we saw other coaches that came in similar situations hit the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be rough because they just don't have enough dudes, man. And that's what it takes in football. You've got to have talent, you got to have players, and you got to have stability. And when you don't have stability, this is what happens. And now all these guys that are leaving, they haven't done a ton at Auburn. Okay, it's not like this is going to affect the depth chart big time. It's not like it's Tank Bigsby in the middle of the season saying, well, I'm out. That's not what it is, but it's still a symptom. And certainly whoever the new coach at Auburn is going to have to fix this, going to have to earn the trust of the players. And you need some stability. You need someone in there that's going to build a program. And Gus Malzahn was there for almost 10 years. And, again, he beat Nick Saban 3 times. He did a solid job there. This has just been a thing where sometimes if you hire the wrong guy, it's really a lot like Chad Morris at Arkansas. I mean, in except for the only one thing I will say that Chad Morris has done better than Brian Harsin is he recruited better, because I think he left the Traylon Burks, he left some good players. But where Harsin has done a better job than Chad Morris, because I've seen it so far, at least the players that have stayed have bought in and are playing hard. Okay, this is not a hard. Those Arkansas teams under Chad Morris were some of the worst in the history of the Southeastern Conference. That's not what Auburn is. Auburn just exposed Ole Miss. You know, they pushed LSU to the brink. They've at least played hard, okay? Yeah. Those Arkansas teams were putrid.
Yeah, Arkansas got beat by San Jose State.
They got beat by North Texas with a dude that dinked a kickoff return.
Quarterback, though, that beat
in Western Kentucky.
Kentucky.
I mean, Curtis Wilkerson's coming on next. He'll probably throw up. I mean, we could ask him about that.
How bad they were? Yeah.
I mean,
we're going to talk Hogs. The Auburn Tigers have owned the Hogs lately, but is this the Hogs' year? Finally. We'll explain. Or Curtis Wilkerson will explain.
After a long, hot summer, there's nothing quite like the cool, crisp mornings of fall in Huntsville, Alabama. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and it's time to get out there. Whether it's hunting, camping, boating, biking, or kayaking, we've got the F-150 to take you there. It's truck month at Woody Anderson Ford, and we've got 2022 F-150s in stock on the lot, ready for your driveway today. And with your good credit, get financing as low as 2.9% for up to 60 months. This offer ends 10/31. Being the best-selling truck in America for 44 years in a row is no small feat. But I promise you, if you come drive an F-150, you'll understand. Woody Anderson Ford has nearly 100 F-150s to choose from and lots of colors and option packages. One of these is right for you. Truck month at Woody Anderson Ford. Exceptional deals on all our trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. And a great selection of Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned vehicles. Woody Anderson Ford, corner of Jordan and Sparkman. Hope to see you soon.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
It's got a new wreck on the backside of Chapman, 72 eastbound. That one's got a dump truck that's overturned. Injury and entrapment reported there. It's on the backside of the mountain, headed down toward Moore's Mill. Got one in Athens, 72 eastbound at I-65. It's got the right lane blocked up. 72 in Berggreen's being reported as an injury accident. And we got a stall at Governor's in Covemont. Snelling needs a property management specialist with QuickBooks experience. Snelling, how Huntsville's best companies hire talent. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeyes Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Not a bad Thursday across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Plenty of sunshine across the area. Temperatures climbing into the low and mid-70s. Dropping into the lower 50s as we head into the overnight, early into your Friday morning. A little more cloud cover for your Friday afternoon. Still going to be a really nice day. Temperatures once again climbing into the low and mid-70s. It'll be a beautiful evening for some Friday night football. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
College football, Alabama off Saturday. Auburn a 3.5-point home underdog against Arkansas. UAB a 5.5-point favorite at FAU. Pitching matchups are set for Game 1 of the World Series. The Astros a -175 moneyline favorite tomorrow. Justin Verlander starting against the Phillies at +145. Aaron Nola on the bump for Philadelphia. The over-under at 6.5. NFL tonight, the line has moved in favor of the Bucs, now a 1.5-point favorite after opening a home underdog against the visiting Ravens. 45.5 the set total. On Sunday, the Falcons -4.5 at home against the Panthers, and the Saints a 1.5-point home underdog against the Raiders. Red hot winning picks at experts.winnersandwhiners.com. Save 75% on any best bet package with the promo code ACTION75. That's ACTION75 at experts.winnersandwhiners.com.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
Indeed, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And just like last week, the Auburn Tigers took on the Ole Miss Rebels, and it was a task because of basing on Auburn's performance.
Right.
We knew it was going to be a challenge going into the game for the Auburn Tigers to get the best of the Ole Miss Rebels. And going into the game, Auburn had won, I believe, they had won the last few.
They've won 6 in a row over Arkansas coming into this thing.
So we knew going in that Auburn had a chance, because of those numbers.
Weird.
It would be favored, but Ole Miss ultimately comes in the winners there. The Auburn Tigers, same thing can also kind of be said against the Arkansas Razorbacks.
They can.
That Auburn comes in. The current 6-game win streak by Auburn is the longest winning streak by either team in series history. So Auburn has won 6 in a row against the Arkansas Razorbacks, but if you ask the Auburn fans, their gut feeling is Arkansas will prevail on Saturday because Arkansas is ahead of where Auburn is right now as a program.
Oh, they're in much better shape, and we're going to talk to our next guest about that. We're going to talk to him about he got a chance to see Arkansas basketball in an exhibition game, and talking about some expectations being through the roof. They're absolutely through the roof for Eric Musselman and the Arkansas Razorbacks, and they are coming off, I believe, back-to-back Elite Eight appearances. And we're going to talk with hogsports.com, part of 24/7 Sports, recruiting writer, basketball reporter, football reporter extraordinaire, Curtis Wilkerson, who is with us this morning on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Curtis, welcome back to Huntsville. You're Drew and Scott. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Good to be on with you.
Good to be on. Thank you for coming on. And we do want to get the negative out of the way. Scott and I were just talking about this ending the first hour, and you were covering it. You were there. We don't think Auburn has quite reached the depths that Arkansas did under Chad Morris as far as the product on the field. For our listeners, how bad truly was it?
I mean, however bad it is in Auburn right now, just take one extra step completely off of the ledge, and whenever you land, that's about where it was in the Chad Morris era. So, listen, times are tough over there, and I feel for you, Auburn, but if you can take any solace in knowing that it can get worse, then hopefully that makes you feel a little bit better with your morning coffee, because it was deep, man. It was a rough time for everybody in this state.
Yeah, and you look at Saturday's game, and you look at where Auburn is at now. Both teams, it's hard to believe. Both teams come in 1-3 in SEC play, especially after Arkansas got that hot start. But their schedule has been just brutal of a schedule. And by the way, whoever scheduled that BYU game on the road this late in the season, oh my goodness. But anyway,
it's tough.
Both
It's
teams
been a really tough schedule for
come
Arkansas.
in 1-3, but they're so far apart from each other that it's just night and day.
Yeah, that's a good point. With Arkansas, I think coming into the season, they probably looked at this schedule, in kind of a before and after the bye situation and said, well, if we're the Razorbacks, hopefully you can get to that bye week just with your head above water. Because when you look afterwards, it lightens up. And by lightens up, listen, there's no off days or easy days in the SEC, but compared to the gauntlet you just faced, you got to feel a lot better about your chances to close out strong. So, it's definitely been a grind. It's interesting. You mentioned that BYU game. I think that was the previous regime that scheduled that.
Mm-hmm.
But man, they opened the season with Cincinnati, and that's no easy task. So, and then the one FCS game that Arkansas has on the schedule winds up being Missouri State, which is the homecoming for Bobby Petrino. So there's a level of weirdness to that game. But they're 4-3 coming out of it. I think for the most part, it went about how you expected. I know that Texas A&M game.
Oh, sticks in the craw, yeah.
Off the top of the upright there at the end that could have won it. That's definitely one they'd like to have back. But, they hit the bye week. This is a team that's banged up, especially on the defensive side of the ball in the secondary. They feel like they're about as healthy as they can possibly get going into the back stretch. And quite frankly, that's all you can ask for at this point.
Yeah, and then, of course, we know the part of the result of the Mississippi State game was not having K.J. Jefferson, because we've talked about this, Curtis. I mean, Alabama survived Texas A&M with their backup quarterback, but it's very, very difficult in this league, in the SEC, if you don't have your QB and to survive within the conference.
Yeah, that's a really good point, on KJ there. And, at the time, I don't think Arkansas even knew who their backup really was. I mean,
right.
Dave Horton, a guy who came in from South Florida. He's got some experience. He played at North Carolina to start his career. This is a guy that does everything right. He understands the playbook. He's got the experience, kind of a veteran mentality about him. They really liked what they saw from him in practice. I think it became pretty clear once the live bullets started flying there that Malik Hornsby just, his dynamic ability, kind of the electricity that he has in his legs and with his arm, even if he's a little bit more raw, he was definitely probably the answer there. But, man, by the time Arkansas figured it out, they were down, I think, 17-0 or at least 2 or 3 scores. And you can't do that on the road, especially when you have a defense having trouble, stringing together stops. And at the time, they were also struggling to get takeaways. So, when you're trying to match somebody score by score, but you fall down by 3 scores before you even figure things out, that becomes tough. So, yeah, unfortunate there. KJ is kind of the heartbeat of the Razorback team. You can tell, not just on the field, but just in terms of their mentality, their focus, the confidence they play with. They're just a lot better off when they have him out there as their leader. So, not him in Starkville was troublesome indeed.
I know it was early in the season, and I mean early in the season, but how has this team adjusted or been able to find – it's hard to find a replacement for an All-American, but when you lose Jalen Catalon, how have they been able to kind of regroup from that? I know it was early, but still, though, those were awful big shoes to fill.
Well, they haven't, and to be perfectly honest with you, and I think that's been the issue for this team throughout the course of the season. They I think took some really great strides, especially early on in the pass rush. It's something that's been a problem, but they came into the year thinking, they were going to be able to play a lot more man coverage, and they were going to be able to rely on just their captain, their quarterback of the defense on the back end, and Jalen Catalon. When he went down, I mean, it's just kind of been musical chairs since then. And you've got some experienced guys back there. Simeon Blair is a guy who's been in the program for 5 years. But he's not Jalen Catalon. And you went and got a Latavius Brini out of Georgia, who obviously has played at a high level in this conference. And he's done an admirable job, but he's still new to the system and to what Barry Odom expects. So you take that and then you add in, Miles Slusher is the guy that's only played in a couple games because of various injuries. He had a concussion. He's been out with a calf. That's the guy who stepped in for Jalen Catalon last season and did so well for Arkansas. You haven't had him. Jaden Johnson has been a guy who's filled in for you at safety and nickel. He's been out. Kari Johnson, another Johnson, is a guy who's filled in and was really showing a lot of promise. He's been out. So it's just been one guy after another going down. So they really haven't had a chance to put somebody or put anybody in the right places and just let them play and see if it works, because they're continuing to have to move guys and cross-chain them and put them in different positions just because of attrition. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do, starting in this Auburn game and going the rest of the season, because it sounds like, and man, knock on wood for the Razorbacks, but Slusher, the two Johnsons, Malik Chavis, it sounds like all those guys are going to be back. So for the first time in several weeks, outside of Catalan and one of their starting corners, Ladarius Bishop, they're going to have their full complement of guys in the secondary. So I'll be anxious to see how they line up on Saturday for sure.
Yeah, I was subbing on the evening show yesterday, and we were talking to David Basil, who I know you know well, and he pointed out too that this Arkansas team, that they were at 4-3 last year at this point, and then finished really strong and ended up 9-4 and winning the bowl game. And the second half of the schedule, while still being difficult, is not quite as difficult as this to navigate as the first half of it. So they've got some winnable games down the stretch, but they need to end this 6-game streak to Auburn, which has been kind of strange because last year was probably, if you want to say a low point for Arkansas, it was probably their most disappointing loss with the way they played at home against Auburn.
Yeah, I would agree. I know in terms of the length of some of these streaks, I think this one to Auburn is probably the most maddening for Razorback fans. And you're right. And a couple years ago, the whole situation.
The spike. Yeah, hey, trust me, Kurt. We've had the same referee crew for the Tennessee-Alabama game, so they've been a topic here in the state.
I believe it. I believe it. And you'll never get people to stop talking about it. And so they thought they were going to exact their revenge last year. And it was interesting. I felt like Arkansas had the better team coming into the game.
Yes.
They were playing at home, and it was the first time in a long time that Arkansas was favored in an SEC game, whether it was home or on the road. Mm-hmm. And they just didn't play well. They could never get it going offensively. Bo Nix was just chucking it all over the place. It was probably one of his most efficient games as a passer during his time at Auburn. And, it just got away from him. You take a 15-point loss at home. And that became, the third or fourth loss in a row there for the Razorbacks. And, you're kind of wondering, are they going to be able to right this ship because it's selling in the wrong direction? And I think the good thing for them at that point was they had UAPB the next week. So that's kind of a get-right game before they went to the bye. And then they really took off from there. But, it's the same idea. Sometimes you get to the bye week, and a lot of it is about, resting up and getting healthy. But some of it's about just kind of having a mental reset. The season's a grind, so sometimes you got to kind of refocus and kind of get that hunger and that motivation back. And just talking to the players throughout the course of the week during press conferences, it sounds like those guys are kind of taking on that same mentality. I know Sam Pittman's kind of preaching it. Obviously, every season, every game is a little bit different, but you can kind of look back and say, hey, we've been in this situation before. We went to a bye week. We came back and we got rolling. Why can't we do it again? And I think they're really taking on that mantra. It starts at Auburn in a place where they haven't won in about, I guess it's been about a decade now. And it doesn't matter what the situation is, with the opponent across the sidelines, coaching, guys leaving. It doesn't matter. They've got to control what they can control. And we'll see if they can get it done. The streak has reached the point where I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, you mentioned get it rolling before the bye week. I did not know this, that their 52-point output against BYU, the Razorbacks, that's their first 50-plus output on the road in a non-conference game since 1910.
Yeah, that was incredible. Coming into that game, I think everybody was kind of looking at it and thinking, well, this might be a little bit of a shootout, but Arkansas should be in a position where they can just line it up, run it right at BYU, and find success on the ground all day. And it turns out KJ Jefferson had, probably his most complete game as a passer, well over 300 yards. Coming back from that concussion, too, you were wondering how sharp he was going to be. But 29-40, well over 300 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, really spread it out. That's one thing you've wondered about with this Arkansas team. We know they can run it. They've got a star in Rocket Sanders there in the backfield. KJ's dynamic with his legs. But how are they going to find balance? Who's going to step up a receiver with Traylon Burks gone? I thought Matt Landers did a really nice job in that game. 3 touchdown catches, had 99 yards on 8 receptions. Jaden Hazelwood has been kind of a consistent guy with him in terms of catches. Hasn't had some of the big plays we thought that maybe he would. But they also got Trey Knox going. Your wide receiver turned tight end. He's a big part of what they're trying to do offensively. And to get him going as well is a good thing. So I think they've got some confidence now that, if they need to ground and pound, they can. But I think they're a little bit more confident in being able to air it out if they need to as well. And that was big for the Razorbacks. They needed that offensive output because they had been in a situation where, quite honestly, they were racking up the yards, total yardage, top 25 in the country. But the scoring offense was down because they weren't finishing drives in the red zone, getting a little sloppy, putting the ball on the turf. They cleaned a lot of that up against BYU, so hopefully they continue to do that moving forward.
And we're talking to Curtis Wilkerson, hogsports.com, talking some Razorback football. So before we talk a little hoops, what is the keys in your mind for Arkansas to get a win on the road at Jordan-Hare?
Yeah, I think they've just got to control what they can control. There's a lot of outside noise going on over there. You can't let other people's distractions become your distractions. And I think they just got to come out crisp after the bye week. Sometimes that can go either way. Teams can come out with a little bit extra juice and a step faster, and that can be the difference in a QB hurry versus a sack, or getting that first down or falling a yard short. So it'll be interesting to see if they fall on that end of the spectrum, or if it's one of those situations where you look like a team that hasn't played in 2 weeks, come out a little flat, a little slow before you get your game legs underneath you. I think they need to come out there and kind of get things rolling early on. It's been something this team has really worked on trying to improve. And I think you got to have some things figured out in the secondary. I know Auburn's passing attack, hasn't exactly been anything to write home about, but neither is Arkansas' secondary. And so now you've got some of your pieces back. Can you put them in place and offer some resistance there? Can you find some success playing man coverage to let you be a little bit more aggressive in that pass rush, which was so good for them through the first 4 games of the season, but it's almost been non-existent the last couple. I think they're going to need that. They're going to need to be able to contain Auburn's playmakers. I know they're worried about Ashford, the quarterback. They haven't seen a guy with those kind of wheels, really outside of Missouri State's quarterback, Shelley, who hurt him on the ground. And then Jalen Milroe came in for Alabama and broke off a huge run against them. So containing that's going to be important. And obviously Tank Bigsy's a guy who's had a lot of success against Arkansas over the years, and it's coming off that big game against Ole Miss. So he's going to be high on that scouting report as well.
But this Arkansas defense comes in, though, leading the SEC in sacks. I mean, they average 3 per game.
Yeah, they do. They do average 3 per game. I think they had about 17 of their total sacks in the first 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit misleading. They had 8 or 9 in the Missouri State game alone. So if you look at the last few games, they've had a couple where they haven't gotten any sacks at all. They had one game where they only had 1. So it has dropped off, and some of that's been because of what's going on in the secondary. They've had to revert back a little bit to some of that drop 8 coverage. They did it against Mississippi State. They went back to it against BYU. And when you do that and you're only bringing 3, then the sack numbers are obviously going to go down. But then you kind of get into a situation where you wonder, how much do you worry about putting a Band-Aid on a weak point in the secondary if it's taken away from your strength? And so I wonder what they're going to do there. I think they need to be a little bit more creative with how they're using Drew Sanders. That was the thing at the beginning of the year. I mean, that guy's been incredible. You can rush him right up the middle. You can put him on the edge. They were getting really active and innovative with how they used him, and nobody could stop him. And for the last couple of weeks, he's kind of been just, forced to be in a situation where he's sitting back, playing more in coverage. Well, that's not playing to his strength. So I'll be anxious, kind of anxious to see how they deploy him. He might be a guy, he's so fast for a guy his size. He might be somebody that needs to just kind of follow Ashford from sideline to sideline there on Saturday if you keep up with him.
Yeah, and Curtis, before we let you go, too, I know there's a lot of expectations for the 4th year for Eric Musselman in the basketball program. They're bringing in maybe the best recruiting class of his tenure there. They've got an outstanding young backcourt, 2 McDonald's All-American 5 stars. I know you saw them play against Division II Roger State the other day. Your impressions of this team and how good they can be?
Well, they can be really, really good. I think the question with Arkansas is a matter of when. they'll reach that point. In terms of just, overall size, length, athleticism, and talent, this is easily the best group that Eric Musselman's had since he's been in Arkansas, which, it's kind of a scary proposition given what they've done the last couple of years. But it's also the youngest group, and it also has the most turnover. Arkansas has been a veteran-laden group the last couple of years when they've made these runs. They've got 2 returners this year, in Devo Davis and Kamani Johnson. Everybody else is new, and it's not a bunch of grad transfer type guys. Trevin Brazil is somebody that they're really going to lean on, transfer out of Missouri. He's a sophomore. Ricky Council, a guy they're really excited about on the wing from Wichita State. He's a junior. He's a young player. His first time in a high major conference. And then you're obviously leaning heavily on that freshman trio of Nick Smith, Anthony Black, and Jordan Walsh. So, very, very talented group. You can tell that they're still putting it together. Kind of getting comfortable playing with each other on the floor. Turnovers have been a little bit of an issue. You would think once they settle in, they'll cut that down a little bit. But, they go over to Austin this weekend. They're playing the Texas Longhorns in a scrimmage. I think that's where we start to really learn about this Razorback team. Texas is older. They're a veteran group. They're well coached. And they're ranked in the top 15 in the country coming into the year also. Where does Arkansas line up against a group that's older and more experienced, even though the Razorbacks might be a little bit more talented? I think we'll start to find out. So I could see it being a similar situation where they have some bumps in the road early like they have under Muss. But, man, by January, February, that's usually when they start figuring it out. And when they do, this team's got all the ingredients to be special again. We'll just see, when they kind of get everything clicking.
And my final question is, how big a role does Barry Dunning going to play? We saw him in our state, and I know they came in here and got him from the state of Alabama. Is he going to be a rotation guy? What are you seeing out of him?
Man, he's got a chance. He really does, and I don't think I would have said that when he got here in the summer, but he's done a great job. Every time you ask the coaching staff about Barry Dunning or a teammate, they gush over him. They love him. He's a great guy for the chemistry, which you love. But he's a guy who's, he's the first one in the gym. He's the last one out. And he does everything right. And that's one thing Musselman said about him when they went on their overseas trip into Spain and Italy in August. Dunning played a ton, and he had a good role, and he played well. And we were talking to Eric Musselman about it, and he said, hey, I trust the guy. He keeps the ball moving. He understands our second and third options. The offense is in the right spot. Defensively, he's willing to guard. He understands the terminology. He even said that the night before their last game that he received a text message. Barry Dunning had written down a scouting report for the opponent and sent it to Muss. And that's something that you don't see too often from a freshman. So from that standpoint, he's done a really good job. I think he's gotten stronger and more explosive. He's worked a ton on his three-point shot. He's coming around, and Arkansas's got some competition open at that small forward position, with Jordan Walsh, Ricky Council, Devo Davis sliding down there a little bit. So it's kind of a tough nut to crack. But, when you've got the trust of the coaching staff at this point, you're doing all the right things. Will he be a starter that plays 30 minutes? Probably not. But can he crack that top 8 and play a role for this team? I absolutely think he can. So it's one of the interesting storylines to watch. Is there going to be a fourth freshman kind of step up and emerge for this group? And if there is, my money would be on him.
Nice. Well, good stuff, Curtis. We thank you. I know you're very busy right now covering the Hogs as far as Sam Pittman and traveling to Auburn. And then this Arkansas basketball program, such expectations, should be a top 2 to 3 team in the SEC under Eric Musselman in year 4. Well, we appreciate it, and let everybody know how to follow you and follow your work.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you can catch all our work over at hogsports.com. That's HAWG sports.com. We're part of the 24/7 network, so would love for you to hop over and see what we got going on. You can also give me a follow on Twitter. That's at Kurt Wilkerson, Kurt with a C, Kurt Wilkerson _.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. We'll talk soon.
Good conversation there about Arkansas. And They got the ball rolling against BYU. They finally got it going.
They got KJ back.
Yep, and it'll be interesting to see if they come to Auburn and stay with that momentum that they picked up on the road. Let's get a break in. And speaking of momentum, we seem to get the show going in an entirely different direction when Jake Crane joins the show. We'll see if what has him all fired up this week.
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
It's got a new wreck on the backside of Chapman, 72 eastbound. That one's got a dump truck that's overturned. Injury and entrapment reported there. It's on the backside of the mountain, headed down toward Moore's Mill. Got one in Athens, 72 eastbound at I-65. It's got the right lane blocked up. 72 in Berggreen's being reported as an injury accident. And we got a stall at Governor's in Covemont. Snelling needs a property management specialist with QuickBooks experience. Snelling, how Huntsville's best companies hire talent. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Did you know the state's top-ranked private school is here in Huntsville? What about one of the nation's few Orton-Gillingham Academy accredited schools? At Randolph School, our experienced teachers and coaches challenge and nurture students as they prepare for college and life. Our pre-K through 12 school includes Greengate School at Randolph, serving students with dyslexia. Parents, we know that you are your child's biggest advocate, and we invite you to explore your education options. Schedule a tour at randolphschool.net.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. We're still a place to call for your insulation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on 2 services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatedwitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
Football season is here, and as always, the best place to catch every game is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill. Humphreys is celebrating by bringing back their game day football specials. $2.75 Miller Lite, Coors Light, Yingling, and $3.50 Yellowhammer Gold Pints. $4 Fireball shots. Anytime football is on. And don't forget football trivia every Sunday night at 6. The best place to catch all the games all season long is downtown at Humphreys Bar and Grill.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Attorney Tommy Sinyard on behalf of Sinyard Law, and again proud to be a sponsor of all things football here on ESPN Radio. My son Bart and I started our own law firm July 1 and are very proud and excited to be bringing you our 50 years of collective national award-winning injury trial law experience. Check us out on the web, sinyardlaw.com.
Sinyard Law, nationally recognized, locally respected.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
At Mr. Sparky, we're America's on-time electrician. Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying, but they can also signal a major problem, or worse, an electrical emergency. So play it safe and leave it to the experts at Mr. Sparky. Trust our team of professional, clean, and friendly electricians. We'll get it done right and get it done safely.
You don't have to put up with any malarkey. Call 888-8-SPARKY.
Independently owned and operated. Licensed in the respective state or county.
Coming up next, it's the Tom Abraham Show with me, Tom Abraham. Now back to more Talking Ball with Scott and Drew.
Indeed, welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And each week this next guest seems to lighten up the show a little bit because he's always got something on his mind.
Well, he's always got strong takes, and that's why we feature him each and every week. And, of course, he's part of one of the fastest-growing shows in the United States, and that's Crane & Company, brought to you by the Real Daily Wire. They cover national sports, but especially college football. And Jake is so well-versed due to his history, if you know about him, and his start, and, of course, his coaching career, and then transitioning into the media with the SEC and college football. And we always enjoy the football conversation with Jake Crane, and he is with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Jake, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Guys, I'm doing great. I lost a fantasy football bet, so I had to do the whole show this morning in a straitjacket, but it went off without a hitch.
So what was the bet you lost?
Well, me and Tom, look, I'm second in fantasy right now, so let's not get anything mixed up.
Right.
It's been a good year so far. We just got to finish. We had a players-only meeting that I was there for as well, so I feel good about it. But against Cone, me and him had a straight-up bet. Loser has to wear a straitjacket during the show. So I lost by a couple points. Derrick Henry was on a bye, but we don't make excuses. You know, you walk in our facility, you look to the left, it says no excuses, just results. But it went off without a hitch, and I'm glad I'm free. Those things are hot, man. And you know what the sad part was? They didn't get me a normal white crazy person straitjacket. They got me one. I look like somebody. You remember when they sent Average Joes on dodgeball the wrong uniforms?
Yes.
That's what I was having to wear.
Oh, man. That's rough, no doubt. Well, Cone won the bet. But speaking of that, of college football, and speaking of no excuses, now we've got Arkansas and Auburn coming up. Auburn coming off of their bye. Arkansas bounced back against BYU. This has been a weird series. Arkansas has lost 6 in a row to these guys. It was probably Auburn's best performance of a year ago, but their former QB is lighting it up at Oregon, and this Auburn team has been enigmatic. And now we've talked about it in the first hour. It seems like every day now another Auburn player is leaving the program. This is not surprising considering where they are, but does Arkansas finally end this streak in Jordan-Hare?
Well, you know, I think this is one of the few winnable games left on Auburn's schedule because Arkansas is so decimated on defense from injuries. I mean, you look at both these teams want to do the same thing. They want to line up and run the ball. Now, they do it in different ways, but it's very similar in what they're trying to do overall. Both quarterbacks, when you're looking at Robbie Ashford and KJ Jefferson, are huge parts of the run game that tries to open up everything else. So looking at that formula, it's very simple. Whoever wins this game is going to be the team that's able to stop the run the best. You've got to make the other team dribble with the left and try and throw to beat you. And then, obviously, who's able to score touchdowns in the red zone instead of kicking field goals. I think this game's going to be close. You know, obviously, Auburn coming off a bye week. Still, it's just not a lot of positive vibes. I do feel like, though, that this game comes down to the wire and it comes down to a field goal. I just don't trust this Auburn team to make winning plays. I don't think they have it in their DNA. I think Arkansas knows how to win, even though it hasn't been a great year for them. I think Arkansas kicks a field goal as time expires.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's expecting a close one.
And Jake, what do you make the last 48 hours? We've kind of talked about it because it's making the headlines. But Auburn losing a lot of guys off the roster. We were talking about it this morning. Is this something you thought you would see last year, or is this something that is just a case of these guys knowing things are going to bad to happen, so they're getting out now? Or what do you make of everything now that's gone on in the last 48 hours?
Well, you know, I think when we look at players leaving, we tend to paint everything with a broad brush. Every circumstance is different. For example, if you're a guy that's not playing, or you're a young guy that's not playing but still hasn't redshirted, and you're not contributing to the team, going and asking for a red shirt because you're thinking about leaving, that's one thing. That's a lot more doable. If you're somebody that's contributing to the team and you're in week 9 and it's somebody the team is counting on and you just want to sit it out, to me, that's a different thing. Not saying you can't sit out, but I would think twice about giving you a red shirt as well because, again, I've got to try and put food on my table. I mean, Brian Harsin, it's DEFCON 5 now. I don't prescribe to he's trying to sabotage the program on his way out. I don't buy into that. My thing is when you look at it, you just can't paint it with a broad brush. And now in the days with the transfer portal, when it's going bad and it's looking like the head coach is going to get fired and there's going to be a regime change and it's not exactly, smiles and rainbows, you're going to see people, it's massive head to the transfer portal. That's what it is, especially now with the rules being what they are. So when I look at it, I don't think you need to come out and say that Brian Harsin is some evil person that's not granting red shirts. And on the other side, I don't think you come out and say, oh, this player is a terrible person for this. That's the situation Auburn is in, and until Brian Harsin is gone and they have a new AD in there and a new head coach with a new direction, you can still recruit the guys back. It's not like they
That's a good point.
To enter the portal. So until Brian Harsin's gone, you're going to keep seeing this because nobody wants to play for somebody that's losing. It's just the truth.
This is Jake Crane and Company. Again, part of the Real Daily Wire. You can catch this show on YouTube from 6:30 to 8 each Monday through Friday for national sports talk and a lot of great college football analysis. Now, Kentucky-Tennessee, very interesting game. Last year, Kentucky did what you would think they'd need to do, dominated the time possession, ran the football, yet still lost this game 45-42 at Kroger Field. Do they have a shot in Neyland, in your opinion?
It's your proverbial trap game, right?
Yeah.
You got at Georgia next weekend. Everybody's telling you, y'all guys can do it. Y'all are going to be the Tennessee team that can do it. We're going to party like it's 1998. You better handle business against a Mark Stoops team that was built off being the underdog and being counted out. They're good enough up front to scare you. Chris Rodriguez is a really good back. We know Will Levis in the quarterback running game is deadly. My question is, guys, can they score enough points? Because even if you play good against this Tennessee defense, playing good, giving up 31, guys, against these guys. Can Kentucky score 31 if they play good on offense? I know Tennessee's defense isn't great, but you do have Byron Young, and I don't think Tennessee's going to overlook these guys. I think they're kind of in the moment. But we always talk about trap games for players. Let's talk about trap games for coaches, guys. That's a real thing. You can't just go out there and throw vanilla ice cream at Kentucky and think it's just going to work because you're afraid to throw show any wrinkles that you throw against Georgia. Now, Tennessee is going to be Tennessee. We know what their identity is. They will run the ball. They have modified runs with the screens outside. They want to go fast, catch you in base, and catch you with your pants down. But they do add wrinkles in the screen game. They add wrinkles in their combinations, whether it be short, intermediate, or down the field. So the coaches can't play this too close to the vest because Kentucky's only way to win this game is if it's ugly and Tennessee makes mistakes, which that's possible in the game of college football. We've seen crazier things happen, but I just think Tennessee over a four-quarter span is going to score enough points to where Kentucky just can't catch them.
Yeah, we were talking about that this morning. Which is a greater chance to happen? Tennessee scoring less than 24 or Kentucky giving up more than 24?
Oh, I think Kentucky giving up more than 24 is a lot less. I'll put the win on that one.
Yeah, no doubt. I just don't see them ultimately stopping Tennessee. And then is this a trap game for Georgia at all? I just don't see Florida being able to hang for four quarters with this Georgia. I know Missouri did, and Florida did take Tennessee to the brink, but Richardson has been so up and down. What is your thoughts on the cocktail party?
Well, this is a rivalry game, guys. I mean, that 22-point spread, that's a lot of points.
Yes.
And Florida's been very schizophrenic. Florida's one of the hardest teams to pin down because you always have this variable of Anthony Richardson. Like, for example, man, the way he looked like he played against Tennessee there in Tennessee's looking a whole heck of a lot better than it even did when he did it. So we know he has the ability to push the ball and make the right decisions and be deadly in the run game. The question for me is Florida's defense. Are you guys going to be able to stop the run? Because if you can't stop the run, Georgia's got enough weapons this year, and Todd Monken has opened up the offense enough where they'll go score 50. They'll do it. They're good enough. They're not just trying to play defense, play good special teams, run the ball good, decent play action, and just squeeze you out for four quarters. This Georgia team can score points in bunches. So I think Florida is going to have to limit possessions that Georgia has. I think you're going to see a ton of quarterback design runs from Billy Napier because that is truly 11-on-11 football, and you have a guy that can do it. So I think this game will be closer than the spread. I do like Georgia to win, obviously. But, guys, I don't see Georgia overlooking this because it's a rivalry game. And at the end of the day, as a player at Georgia, when you go to Georgia, you are judged on how you do against Florida.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think this game's going to be a little tighter than what people think. But I do like Georgia in the end by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, is this the back half of the schedule where Georgia at least gets pushed a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, that game at Mississippi State, that's going to be awfully interesting, fellas, especially with the way that Mississippi State just played against Bama.
Yeah, and then I also would like you to let the listeners know, if you haven't seen it, Jake has a very interesting take, and we talked about this earlier in the week on the show about the future of this rivalry with the Florida and Georgia. A lot of people believe they're going to go to home at home. We saw the Iron Bowl eventually do this and move out of Birmingham. I know you're in favor of it going to each campus.
You know, I don't think we should have any neutral site games in college football unless it's in the postseason, because I think it just goes against what college football is. Look, college football isn't about cities like Detroit or New York or even Atlanta or these big metropolitan cities. That's where all the pro teams are. That's where there's everything to do. College football is about the Knoxvilles, the Tuscaloosas, the Corvallises. That's what it's about. These hometowns that may not be the biggest cities in the world, but they rely on that gate. They rely on people going to hotels and big games. That's why it's so important that the team does well, because if the team does well, the city does well, and there's a more local feel to it. Georgia should play Florida in Athens or Gainesville. The only neutral site game, guys, that I think we should keep is Texas and Oklahoma. I've kind of changed my mind on a little bit because of the Texas State Fair. That's a huge part of it. That's kind of an anomaly. There's always anomalies, whether it's in polling data, whether it's in math, whatever. There's always anomalies. We shouldn't do these kickoff classics anymore. If Georgia wants to play Oregon, take your ass to Eugene or Athens. It's just college football. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, and now what do you take? Speaking of Texas, in that state, Texas A&M, a lot of controversy this week off the field. Lane's team got popped last week in Red Stick. Are we going to see A&M get off the mat in College Station, or is Lane's team going to bounce back before they have a chance to play Alabama in a couple of weeks?
Well, you're down 3 starting offensive linemen, and that is not a recipe for an A&M team that has Haynes King at quarterback, who every time I see a throwing motion, I get worse. I don't think they have any, speaking of no downfield threats, since Anaya Smith got hurt, you know, they have nobody that can push the ball down the field vertically outside of Devin Achane, who's the starting running back. So if Achane doesn't go off, A&M doesn't score points. My question is, how long can the A&M defense hold up against this Ole Miss running attack while the offense isn't scoring? Because while Ole Miss's defense isn't exactly the steel curtain, they are good enough to stop what A&M does because it's not that hard. You're defending 2/3 of the field, not the whole field. So I think Ole Miss ends up winning this one late because the dam ends up breaking on the Texas A&M defense, because it's just a matter of time, and eventually the defense figures out the offense can't score.
So Jimbo Fisher yesterday, or I should say Tuesday, had some great comments to say about why would you go, as far as recruiting goes, why would you go to a school that wins? You know, they have a little bit of off-field problems this week. They're kind of banged up as well, though. Kind of sum up what is going on at Texas A&M right now.
Well, you know, when it rains, it pours. When you're losing, the sunshine is the best disinfectant, and everything seems 30 times as worse if you're losing. If this would have happened and A&M was undefeated, people would say, you know, it's part of it. Part of the deal, it's part of the game, it happens everywhere. But since you're losing, and you're losing the way A&M is losing, it just shines a bad light everywhere. It makes it seem like everything is wrong. And in A&M, honestly, a lot's wrong. They can't play good in 2 out of the 3 phases of any game. They haven't been explosive on offense, it seems like, in the last 3 to 4 years, or really since Jimbo's gotten there. Outside of the COVID year. So A&M, the off-the-field stuff, it all bleeds from losing, guys. You really find out about your culture, and you really find out about who your guys are when it's not going good. Everybody can get excited when it's going good. Everybody wants to show up early when it's going good. Are you going to show up early and be a leader when we're not playing good, when people aren't patting you around on the back, when all the girls maybe not be looking at you the same way when you were ranked number 6 to start the season. That's when you find out what you're really made of.
And speaking of that, this is a perfect segue for your last comment. Are we going to find out how good Ohio State is this weekend? Or are they going to handle Penn State on the road? Because really, that Notre Dame team was a fraud. So we haven't seen Ohio State really pushed. What are you thinking about this?
My Hawkeyes offense gave them a challenge.
Come on.
Oh man, speaking about getting worse, I mean that Iowa offense, you think Auburn's offense is bad. You look at that; they make Auburn look like the Globetrotters.
Dude, you got to see Blaine Crane, by the way, everybody, with his take on getting fired with Kirk Ferentz firing his son.
Just fire his son.
Yeah, you got to see that.
It's on Twitter. It's like, hey, son, you want something to drink? It's like, yeah, Dad, can I get a coffee? He's like, yeah, bring this man a water. The thing. I totally lost my train of thought.
No, we're just asking you. Do you think Ohio State's gonna? Are they for real? How are they gonna look you in your mind?
Ohio State better be counting their lucky stars. They're not playing this game at night. That's for one. They caught a break there.
Yeah, the big
Penn
noon
State
kickoff.
There, but everybody at Michigan. It's going to come down to how effective Sean Clifford can be if he plays. He's been beat up because Penn State does have athletes. I think they're good enough up front to compete. The question is, how many plays is Smith and Jigba going to play? Because Penn State does have some dogs in the secondary, including Joey Porter. And if Ohio State comes out and plays as bad as they have early in some of these games, like they did against Iowa offensively, looked like they weren't even, didn't really even care. Now they ended up beating the hell out of them because Iowa couldn't score. But I think this game's going to be a lot tighter than what people think. There is nothing that is more motivating to an 18 to 22-year-old than to be embarrassed in front of all your friends at something they consider you the best at. And that's what happened against Penn State and Michigan. They got absolutely embarrassed. And this is their whole season, guys, not only for national implications, but they're in the Big Ten East with Ohio State and Michigan. You lose this one, have fun in the Taxpayer Bowl.
There you go. That's great takes. Once again, strong stuff from Jake Crane. Jake, let everybody know about the show, man. We always appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys. Yeah, you can find us. Just go to YouTube, type in CRAIN and Company. It's Crane and Company. We go live each morning, 7:30 to 9 Eastern. Come kick it with us.
Thank you, man.
All right, thanks, Jake.
All right, see y'all.
Let's get that final break in. Your tomorrow's headlines comes your way next.
Yeah, you'd enjoy that little...
You're listening to Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
They're working to clean up a wreck with an overturned dump truck, 72 eastbound on the backside of Chapman. They've been rerouting traffic on Epworth. Got Beltline in Longview and Point Mallard and Refuge Road in Decatur. Both of those are coming in as no injury. 72 in Burgreen reported with an injury. Still may be trying to get that one clear. From routine care to heart failure, Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Men, are you having performance issues in the bedroom? Is erectile dysfunction affecting your confidence and self-esteem? Is your relationship being impacted? If ED is a problem in your life, maybe it's time to make the last time you had bad sex the last time you'll have bad sex. At the Huntsville Men's Clinic, we've successfully treated many men in the area for ED and given them back their confidence, their positivity, and in many cases, helped their relationships. Our expertise is second to none, and our practice is staffed by quality medical professionals. Beyond this, the treatments we use have proven success rates as high as 90%. And unlike online pharmacies that just sell pills, or wave clinics that only offer one treatment option, we have a variety of treatment protocols, including acoustic wave therapy. We found that sometimes a combination of therapies works best, and a one-size-fits-all approach can't get you there. So make the call. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. Call 256-368-0333 or go to HuntsvilleMen'sClinic.com.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Hi, everybody. Eli Gold here. Right now, indoor air quality occupies top-of-mind awareness for families and business owners. Rick Smith and the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems can take care of your indoor air quality concerns with their state-of-the-art indoor air quality solutions. Environmental Comfort's indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of airborne contaminants so you and your family can breathe clean, fresh air. If anyone in your family suffers from allergies, or if you just want the security of knowing the air you breathe inside your home is free from viruses, bacteria, pet dander, dust, and odors, Environmental Comfort Systems are the professionals to call. Environmental Comfort also carries state-of-the-art, high-efficiency comfort systems that increase home comfort, keep humidity in check, and help you save money on your energy bills. Give my friend Rick a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
Tom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
Hi, this is Wes Neighbors. I'm here with Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Sam, tell the folks about Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Hey, Wes. Our company, Fleming Roofing and Restoration, specializes in commercial and residential roofing and repairs. I'm a fifth-generation Huntsvillian, and our family's been doing construction business in Huntsville area since 1965.
Sam, what kind of roofs does Fleming Roofing and Restoration do?
Our guys are skilled enough. We can come out and address any kind of leaks or issues you might have on your commercial, on your metal roofing, on your shingles. We can do anything, and we can offer you a solution to repair it, or we can replace it.
Well, you guys also do insurance restoration.
Our staff has 10-plus years of experience as insurance adjusters, and we really do know the inside and out of the claims process at Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Check out Fleming Roofing and Restoration online at FlemingHSV.com, or you can call or text them at 256-651-9440.
Hey, Wes, we show up.
This segment of Talkin' Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Indeed, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. And we can only make this stuff up because, we don't make this stuff up. It just so happens to be going that way. Texas A&M 3-4 on the year after that loss to South Carolina. Yesterday, though, they had a punter go in the transfer portal.
Yep.
So he's punting on the Aggies.
He punted.
You can't only make this stuff up. Anyway, so there you go. Hey, the other big headline. Okay, we all know it's going to happen. The college football playoffs, they're going to expand, right? We know it's going to happen. But what about the NCAA basketball tournament? Are you ready for that to expand?
No.
Well, the fans don't want it, the pundits don't want it, but there's some momentum, and I mean some really big momentum behind the scenes to push the NCAA basketball tournament. Now, you ready for this? They're kicking around some ideas. This is just all ideas right now, but there's some momentum for it. An 80, 96, or even a 128-team field in the NCAA basketball tournament.
There's nothing wrong with the NCAA basketball tournament.
Money. They want more money.
I know they want more money, but good Lord, 128.
That would be ridiculous, though, if it did go
stupid.
that far.
I mean, I think the first 4 is a neat idea, and they pushed it to 68. That's been pretty cool, but I mean, and it gives smaller schools an opportunity for a spotlight, but I think it's just fine. I mean, good Lord. I mean, because, look, man, there's a lot of smaller schools, and I know they're one bid leagues, a lot of them, but they get a chance to at least compete and play with the big dogs, and it's a tournament sport, so everybody gets a shot. You get a chance to win. You get a chance to earn your way to the tournament in your conference tournament. I think the NCAA tournament's fine. This crap about expanding it to 96 teams, I mean, give me a break. It gives me a headache.
Yeah, there's I mean, it's momentum. It's a groundswell right now. Will it happen? I don't know. Don't count on it to happen within the next 5 years, I would say. I mean, I think we're fine for that. All right, it's going to do it for our 2 hours. We're done. We're going to turn it over to the Recruiting Blitz on the Blitz Sports Radio coming up next. So download the Blitz Sports Radio app. Download the 97.7 ESPN The Zone app. You got high school football tonight, high school football tomorrow. And then you also got the world's largest outdoor cocktail party on Saturday. So plus our special show, 12 to 2 from University Kia on Saturday.
Southeastern Conference Commissioner Greg Sankey is